Okay, call the meeting to order. Michelle will be coming later, am I correct?
I believe we should expect this.
Okay, comments from observers. I don't see any. Do we have any comments?
No, we don't.
No. Okay. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 13, 2022. I have a motion in that regard.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very. Right,
Aye.
okay. They're approved. Next is the director's report.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Good evening, everyone. So the first item there is just a quick update on the strategic planning process. We are well underway. We've only had 2 core meetings so far, but there's a lot of activity outside of the core meetings. So we have a whole kind of plan for community input, to gain community input. We just hosted a community leaders forum, kind of like a conversation on Monday, and I facilitated that conversation, and I thought it was really great. We are also soliciting comments from, inviting staff to comment and share their input, so we're looking forward to hearing from staff. We've had some interesting conversations already in the 2 core committee meetings, so looking forward to the rest of the process. So as a reminder, we'll probably wrap the process up near the end of the summer, and then hopefully have a draft of the strategic plan for the board to consider in September. Are there any questions about that process? You know, Noreen and Shabnam are part of that process as well, so if they want to add any comments.
I actually just had a question.
Sure.
And that was, the people who met on the 9th, do we have access to which community partners were there?
Yeah, I can definitely share a list of the board with the board.
Okay, that would be great, only because as I work too, then it'll be nice to dovetail.
We'll share, and there was a note taker, and so I haven't seen the notes yet, but once we get the notes, we'll share that out.
Great.
Yeah.
Richard,
Yes.
your report mentions that our data analysis coordinator, Devin, that she gave a presentation
Yes.
about data
Yes.
to that group. And I'm curious, is that the same data kind of presentation that we have in our board packet?
No, it's a little bit more in depth about the demographics of Skokie.
Okay.
And actually, Laura, can you remind me, we talked about having Devin present?
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah, we
to
talked about
hear
having her
that as
come
well.
to a meeting.
Okay, I can't
I'm not
remember
sure
if
if
we
we have one
scheduled
on
it
the
or not.
schedule yet, but
Okay. We'll try for June or July. We'll have our data analysts come to the board meeting and just give maybe about a 20-minute presentation. We do a condensed version. It's very interesting, fascinating stuff. We used to have, if you recall, Jane, you remember, because you were the last time we used to have someone from the village come and do this kind of presentation, but that person is no longer at the village, and Devin is so kind of on top of all the demographics anyway. We figured we just have her do it.
And that was helpful because he'd been around long enough. He wasn't just giving current demographics.
Yeah.
He could show you all changes over the last decade, which is nice
Yeah.
to see movement in which direction.
That's very important information.
Yeah, unfortunately, that person at the village isn't there, and this time when we really miss him because he had just that knowledge built up. And so I can see if I can find someone else at the village planning department or maybe the manager's office who might be available to come and share some thoughts in conjunction with the presentation. Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I just wanted to give some kudos on the diversity without division training.
Yes.
At last, actionable stuff
Yes.
that relates directly to leadership. And I just thought, yay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Like I mentioned, we did a workshop or kind of a webinar with in ULC, Urban Libraries Council's directors kind of meet up, and I was just blown away, and it helped me so much, just kind of in my work, and then I found out she does this workshop for kind of cohort models for like different organizations, and it's all online, it's self-paced, which is really convenient these days, you know, it's hard to get people together and to do, and then we're gonna have like lunch meetings with the staff who are participating, so that we can kind of like digest together like what we learned and what we came away with. So yeah, thank you. Speaking of exciting opportunities for that, for learning new things, the AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is in May, and among many of our events, one of the events is a discussion with local community leaders, AAPI community leaders, and our very own library trustee, Michelle Malloy, is going to be participating in that. So if you want to put more pressure on Michelle, you can show up at the meeting and watch it.
Welcome as many as would like
Yeah,
to attend.
there's familiar faces is what you'll
Yeah.
see if we show up. So I plan to be there. I'm looking forward to it, and should be a good conversation. I think that the rest is really, I don't really need to add to what I have here. The third floor master plan, Andrew Berman is scheduled to join us in June, and looking forward to kind of discussing the whole picture of the cost projections. Yeah, he'll have the cost projections. We've had them actually for a few months now, but Mike and I are working on figuring out like what is the number actually that we feel comfortable with in regards to our reserve fund and our operating fund. And obviously there are, as you all know, there are some question marks out there that we'll just have to kind of predict or speculate a number on, but it should be a good discussion, and you know, we'll look for guidance from the board at that point or shortly after. On how to proceed with the project, whether to proceed or not at all, or whether to just kind of take it as is, as a whole, or maybe whether we think it and change the scope of the work. So, but we'll have all that information prepared for the next meeting, and I think it'll be helpful to have Andrew here in the building, talking in front of you, explaining how we feel about the project. Any questions about any of the other items in the director's report? Yes.
One last one, under personnel,
Yes.
there was, someone got a promotion, or
Yes.
at least they shifted.
Yes.
My question is, so the vacated part-time advisory specialist, are you filling that again, or is that
Yes.
another?
Well,
Okay.
we're in the midst of figuring out what works best for that team, and so hasn't been settled yet, but we always try to assess what the need is at that point.
So if you do, is that a position that then is open to an existing staff member?
Possibly, or we always post internally and allow internal candidates to apply for openings. We sometimes post only internally and not externally, so we do that if it's appropriate. Sometimes it's just a shifting of hours too, where we might give someone who's already working here some additional hours if it fits our needs and their needs, so in their design areas. So yeah, we're figuring all that out.
Thank
Yeah, sure. One more comment, actually, it's not in my director's report, but I wanted to just acknowledge our learning experiences manager, Amy Kuster, who I think you all have met and are familiar with. She has just done an amazing job with representing the library and leading the library's efforts to coordinate the coming together in Skokie and Niles Township efforts. So this was a program that I think all of you are familiar with. Carolyn and Anthony actually started the project 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, I think. And over the years, it's kind of developed and morphed into other things. Lots of different community members have been involved over time. But several years ago, Amy, I asked Amy, can you be our lead representative on this committee And she has really taken a leadership role on that committee, and I'm so proud of what the work that the library and its partners have contributed towards that project and initiative. That program series, Coming Together as Building Up Township, is coming to an end. It was kind of a natural conclusion after exploring many different cultures and like kind of different identities and people in the community, and there's kind of going to be a little bit of a hiatus or break, and then whatever comes next will be something new. But just wanted to acknowledge that it's not in my director's report, but it's something I should have added just to acknowledge her leadership and good work. So, yeah.
Anything else on the director's report? Okay, move on to the disbursement report, which begins on page 5. Any questions or comments on that?
I have a question on page 5, item for category 6060, and then item 37891, plumbing and heating. I'm just curious, is that maintenance or is that any other issue?
Yes, I don't recall the exact specific issue, but that's one of our contractors, who if we have an issue with maybe some leaking or something somewhere. I can pull it off.
But nothing major.
Yeah, it's maintenance of building. It wasn't like a new project.
And then also item 37906, the doors.
That was the replacement of the football garage door. Actually. That door, over the years, we've had, the spring was failing periodically, and Captain McGann, we replaced it, and then Andy, our building services manager, Andy Garcia, came to me and said, we really should think about just replacing this with a lighter door. It would probably give us less problems moving forward, less maintenance on the door, and she said, let's do it. So brand new door on the garage.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Bill? You're up. No. Anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the bills, the April 2022 disbursement report?
So motion.
Second?
Second?
Okay, we have to do these individually. Mary?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes 7-0. Next is approval of the final roofing project pay application. This is it for the roofing project?
Yes.
Okay. And it's in the amount of $66,764.79. Questions or comments?
So everything's done, all cleaned up,
Yep.
everything they said they were gonna come back and do, they came
Yes,
back and did.
they took all their equipment off the roof, and I actually witnessed it when it was coming in on Friday.
We haven't had any leaks at all this rain.
Just in my office, and that had nothing to do with the roofing. So, but our building services staff is on it, so I'm not worried.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the final roofing project pay application in the amount of $66,764.79.
So moved.
Okay, second? Okay, this has to be done individually. Mary?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes 7-0. Next is analysis of the general operating fund for the 7 fiscal years. Starts at page 23.
Okay, this is something that we bring to the board every May, actually. Once the fiscal year ends, we kind of provide an unaudited, so this isn't kind of the final audited version, but we try to provide a picture of what the numbers look like in terms of our overall revenue, our expenditures, what the excess of revenue over expenditures is, so that's like the bottom right number there in the table. This is, we're not, Blythe and I are not coming to the board today to ask for approval of a transfer of funds from the operating fund to the reserve fund, but it's possible if the board would like for us to consider that, we can bring a suggestion to the board, given the numbers next month or in July possibly. So it's really, we can be guided by the board on that. But Blythe, did you want to say anything else on this? Or I know Blythe added some helpful footnotes too in here.
Well, it's funny, because I know what it is, and Richard's like, you need to put these down, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I think it's just helpful.
I know, it's just, I know what it is.
Yeah.
The replacement taxes, the PPRT taxes for the state of Illinois, I don't want to say they're unpredictable, because they were in our favor. We were supposed to get like 555,000 this year. That's the estimate that they gave us. The amount of giving us about 900,000. They did state that it was going to be more than last year, because last year it was about 355,000. However, this was almost double. I talked to other business managers, and Richard had forwarded me some stuff from directors. They also, everyone has gotten more from the state. And in reading about it, they have all these different funds, and I won't go into it, but if you want to know, I can go into great detail about it. But they have all these different funds, and then at the end of the year, they true them up, because everyone's paying they're doing their estimated quarterly corporate taxes, and then once the returns are in, they true everything up, which is why there are transfers from the income tax fund to the PPRT fund, which is why we see these swings. But it's always been in our favor, but then we always budget conservatively, because I'm always afraid one year it's going to go the other way.
Yeah, we don't want to.
So, I mean, we did increase 400,000 this fiscal year from 200 last fiscal year, but I didn't want to go up, because if we don't get the money in, Rich and I have discussed this several times, so we're always going conservatively. So that's why you see why next year we've only budgeted 400,000, and we're getting like 90.
Is there any other questions about this analysis or the numbers that you're looking at here? If at this time, if there are any thoughts about whether or not the board would like to see a transfer of funds into the reserve, we'd be happy to hear those too. But I think that it might be better to just kind of talk about this more in a full kind of manner when we talk about the third floor potential project, and like an present kind of what our numbers look like currently with the reserve fund and what it might look like with a potential transfer over to the operating fund to the reserve fund. Then it will kind of all make sense together.
Also, we don't know what the union contract is.
That's an unknown, obviously.
And also some of any other capital projects that we have coming up.
We have, nothing has really changed since the numbers from like February and March, but, or the projections from February and March, but the big thing is the elevator project, which is on the agenda today, and also the parking lot project, which is still to be determined the cost, because that hasn't been bid out by the village yet. So,
And the study rooms.
the study rooms it is a project, but that can be paid out of our existing funds, because we still have some balance in that, the renovation project, so that won't really affect the reserve.
We don't vote on this.
No, it's just FYI information, and if you have any questions, we can try to answer them. But obviously, we ended the year in a very strong position, as you can see, and we like to see that. Not necessarily that to that degree, but we had the past few years have just been, obviously unpredictable. Our services haven't been to the full extent that we want, are budgeted for, so it's natural. It makes sense for us to have some money on the table that we can transfer over to the reserve fund.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. That begins on page 24. Any questions or comments there?
I have a question on page 35, page 39. There's data there about teen programming attendance, also about computer room usage. And showing that the numbers are dramatically lower compared to other periods. So any thoughts about that? Obviously, we're still, in a kind of, I guess, a recovery time from the pandemic. What that did to usage statistics. What about those two items,
Go ahead.
teen programming and computer usage?
In past years, our meal distribution was counted as a team program, both as a
What
program,
was counted?
the meal distribution.
Oh,
So
okay.
during the pandemic, it was the boxed meals that we were distributing on the South Drive. Prior to that, it was in-building meals. But those were counted as a team program, and the attendance was counted as teams, even though some of the children were took up the meals were younger than that, obviously, but we had to lump it all together. So that is the main reason why it looks so different now, because we had those meals. Well, let's see, during the pandemic, was it 4 days a week? I think last spring it was 3 days a week, but that's 12 programs in a month or 15 weeks are.
But can't we redo this? And so we're
Gonna take
comparing
that out.
apples to apples. Because right now, it really doesn't tell us.
I can ask Devin to take out the meals.
Okay. Maybe next time, present that.
That's helpful, Laura. So we're saying if we take out that data, then in terms of teen programming attendance,
We'd be much closer.
it would be
Yeah.
much closer to prior periods. Okay.
We are doing a great deal of team programming. It's very engaged down there, lots of participation, whether we have some programs still on Zoom, some in person, some hybrid, but also just a lot of engagement that happens in that room, so.
Good, okay, obviously that's very important to us, so.
Yep.
That's the question. Okay, also, what about the computer usage?
For the,
Thoughts about that?
both the adult
39.
computer commons and the youth computer lab have had reduced, stations from like the full capacity that we're using,
Right.
so that's just COVID related.
Are we back on
We're,
an uptick in terms of how many people can utilize those resources?
yes, right, aren't we going full, we're increasing the number of the youth lab.
Yeah, the youth lab will be at full capacity, I believe, at the end of June. IT is working to get the additional computers up and running for them. And we have continued to add computers in the common, and we're working towards the higher number. We're not seeing times where we're fully booked and people are waiting. So we've been gradually introducing them and there's more availability.
I wonder too, can we, once, we know that that's absolutely happening, can we also inform the community, as we continue to progress forward now? And hopefully that continues.
Try to, make sure that that's mentioned
Yes,
on
so that
our
people
website, social media, and our staff are kind of word of mouth, in terms of making sure patrons knew. I mean, I think you raised some good questions here, and I just want to make a general comment that I think all of you know already though, but that, really when we're looking at our data, it's gonna be a couple of years before we can actually see like a true apples to apples comparison. Because COVID was just such a disruptor in terms of our service model.
For everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions when we're talking about, teen engagement and maybe just programming engagement in general. Is there a way for us to discern between, like if we have the same teens that are using the same, resources or attending the same programs, is there a way to track that versus having a new, a new teen come in or a new adult that signed up for it? Because I'm thinking in my mind, if we're looking for more engagement, how can we be reaching out to new kiddos, right, or new adults? And then if there's any follow-up after they've been, they participated in whatever program, another way to reach out to them as a follow-up. I'm just trying to think of ways.
I hear you. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we don't have data on related to that. all we might have is anecdotal kind of thoughts from our team staff who are in the space like constantly, but
Right.
the other complication with this is that teens come into the library, they might use the study rooms, or they might use the rest of the library, they don't necessarily only show up in the teen room, so that's an interesting question, though. We should talk to our data analysts and try to figure out like, what might be possible.
The teen programs in particular tend not to require registration because teens tend to work on a more loose schedule and, means of going about things. So, yeah, it would be more that our staff notices, oh, these are the same
Right.
kids. I will say, we just opened up the application for our summer teen volunteer program, and we had an outstanding response. I think in the first 4 days, we had 79 applications. So it's definitely not just the same group of 10 kids that comes in here every day. We are reaching a wider audience.
A lot of our teens, after school on weekdays, tend to come from the local schools that are within walking distance. So we might see more now West students than now North students, but on the weekends we might see more of a variety. So this whole question is interesting. We should definitely look into this when we're trying to staff and see what we might be able to do, whether it's through surveying or just kind of like other data analysis.
Your base off of that, what are we doing in terms of reaching out to teams, like, for example, are you doing anything to reach out to the high schools, schools to say, hey, look, we have this going on?
Absolutely, yeah, our staff, our team librarians and staff have relationships with the schools, and just like we have relationships with all the schools in the area, there's, communication. And of course, we can always do more, but I think generally speaking, we have open line of communication with the schools and our junior high schools as well.
There's something happening here, they know.
We try. I mean, I think it's challenging because the schools in and of themselves, they have so much going on and activities, but we try to get into their weekly e-news and that kind of thing, and that's part of our intergovernmental agreement actually with a lot of the schools where we provide services of library cards and stuff, and then they're supposed to help promote library services and activities. So it's just a lot of opportunity and with the things happening in the schools, so it can be challenging. I think we have to kind of cut through a lot of that. But we're trying. But open to new ideas. So.
Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I did have a question. I noticed that there was, that we do have some revenue from photocopies, right, from the photocopies. I was wondering, do we have anything that allows for accessibility if non-paid for patrons?
People who can't pay for
Right.
reviews. I think that's an interesting question. I can't remember if that's come up from our staff, but we have. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know about the photocopier in particular, but for print jobs up here, I know that our staff will they're not gonna print out warranties for someone, but they
When
can
we
work
already
with them.
have it.
Yeah,
Just check it out.
Right. We haven't found already.
We already spent that money.
But particularly during tax season, for example, if you just need a couple forms, print this up, scan them to you.
Yeah.
So we do work with them, but
But-
copier, I'm not sure.
Well, I wanted to mention also that we have these scanning stations, print fax scan stations, and so if someone comes and thinks that they need a copier, but really they just need like a digital copy of something, then they can use the scanning service and have it saved to our flash drive or email it to themselves. So that's at no cost.
Is that in the computer?
Yeah, we have one in the computer commons there, so we've had those actually for many years now, and they're really great. Most libraries have them. The need for actual photocopiers is still there, but we have an alternative for someone who might not have change on them or whatever, and then and can have something emailed to them or saved to the flash drive or yeah.
Just throw it out there.
We tend to, as Laura kind of alluded to, we tend to have a very flexible approach to this, and we try not to say no to people.
Right.
We try to help people out.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next is approval of the study room lighting controls revision. Is at page 57.
I know you read this memo and probably thought you were having deja vu. It's an issue that was tabled last month. I actually appreciated the conversation last month, and we went back to the architect and our construction manager and SMC and asked them some questions to just clarify what option 2 would give us. I hope I've addressed that in the memo. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. But I think that going for option 2 would be great if the board would like to do that. So you can see the cost there. So I recommend board approval of the study room lighting control adjusted at a total cost of $36,566. That would be option number 2.
Okay, questions or comments on that?
Was the recommendation to just go with all of the rooms as opposed to part of the room?
Yes, I think that makes most sense because it will be consistent experience. All of the rooms on the second floor. So this doesn't include the team study rooms, which we don't feel like is needed because we get a lot of natural light coming into the inside of the windows there. And doesn't include the youth computers. We have a small number of youth study rooms, I should say, and we have staff very nearby. From what I've heard, that it isn't a major issue or anything, but if it does over time, as usage increases, become an issue, then we might come back and take care of that as well, but that would be at a much lower cost because it's only 5 rooms. So for now, this is just option 2 for the second floor.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the study room lighting controls revision contract in the amount of $36,566?
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have to do this individually. Mary?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next is the elevator upgrade proposal.
Okay, is John Shales on the line? Okay, Alice. We invited John Shales from Shales McNutt to join us via Zoom, and Brooke Irving, I should also say, from Shales McNutt Construction. They both helped us working primarily with Susie actually and our building services manager, Andy Garcia, on the bidding process for this project. You can see my memo there, but John and Brooke, did you want to share a few comments about the bidding process and the results?
Yeah, can you hear me? This is John.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, we got 4 bids, as you can see in that bid tabulation. We were very pleased with that. 4 good companies that we have. If we've worked with most of them, there's one that we have not worked with, but have heard good things about. So very pleased with that. And the pricing did come in under the budgets that we had provided in your planning document, for maintenance and whatnot. So overall, it gives you good options and keeps you under budget.
Okay, thank you. If the board has specific questions about the proposal or the scope of the project, John and I can.
Will I go any faster?
Will it go any further? No, we're not gonna make it the high-speed option. That's not part of the bid project, right, Suzanne?
Okay.
You don't like the leisurely pace of
I usually walk much faster.
Yeah,
It's a relaxed pace.
yeah.
Music an option?
Music, oh, actually, that's a good question. We could probably rig some music in there, right, John? In the elevator?
We can take a look at that for sure.
Everyone loves elevator music.
We like quiet elevators.
And in our elevators, you would have a lot of time to listen to music.
How long did it take to do?
Well, John, what did you say about the starting point? Because I know you said the project would be probably wrapped up in November, but I can't recall when you said you think the actual work might be good, because I know there's supplies.
Yeah, you know what? Let me defer to Brooke on that. Brooke, do you have your notes with regard to all types material availability?
Yes, like I said, we talked, I believe it was, at the end of August, we would see some material coming in. And then in total, we would probably finish up with all the elevators by November.
Yeah. And keep in mind, we're not going to be working on all of the elevators at once. It's going to be one elevator at a time, obviously to keep, good operation and good function within the building.
And thankfully, this is gonna be an interior project. We don't have to have people on the outside of the buildings.
So basically, one elevator at a time, so there won't be any significant disruption to our patrons, right?
The only time this might become a slight issue is when they do the minor upgrades on the public elevators, the two public elevators. I've already said this to John, so he knows it's very important for us not to have both elevators knocked out of commission at the same time. So they're gonna do their best, but I'm guessing there might be, a slight, amount of time when maybe they just need to transfer over something or whatever.
Within the same day, though.
Right, that's what I'm assuming, but John, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. The work on the two public elevators is a lot less than the elevators 3 and 4. So that's really good, but there could be a downtime for that. Once we get this award with all types, we're going to refine that, make sure we can do it off hours or, to just minimize that downtime or, problem or not inconvenience for the public at that point.
Good to hear, John, thank you.
If we're going ahead with the third floor project, will that, I don't know when that's gonna start, would that be after November, or these are gonna overlap?
I don't see tackling the third floor project in this calendar year, because we still have design phase, schematic phase, construction documents to prepare, so
So it won't be.
I don't think so.
I'd agree.
Richard, what we're approving today is the contract with all types, the total of 264, 583, am I correct?
I would, that plus the additional costs that are not, that are outlined in the spreadsheet.
Okay, so I thought in your memo, you say that it's already been approved by the board.
Only 14,180
Okay.
was approved, so the total cost that the board, I would like the board to approve tonight is $358,880, and that would include contingency costs, that would include all the other.
Sorry, that was 358.
One second.
Page 61.
The total cost would be $358,883.
83, okay.
Yeah, and the spreadsheet is on. This is what happens when you have a big board. Here, it's a lot of that.
74 and 75.
Thank you. The spreadsheet on page 75 has the full budget. And so it would be just the amount highlighted there. So it's not including the $14,180 that the board has already approved for the pre-construction planning and bidding for SOC. subtotal and the recommended section.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I just have a question. How long will what's like the lifespan of this type of work? Like once it's done, how long will the elevators be in like an optimal prime? I'm gonna sneeze, excuse me, maybe not. Working order, excuse me.
That's a great question. Your elevators 3 and 4, those are your 2 staff elevators, one in your oldest building and the other one in the 3-story addition. Those are what the proposed work here is, a full modernization on that. So we would expect that those would be in good working order for another 20 to 25 years. So, these are significant updates to those 2 elevators to really set you up well for well into the future at that point. The work on elevators 1 and 2, your public elevators, this is more minor type stuff just to make sure the equipment, being a little bit proactive, the equipment's kind of getting towards the end of its useful life. So just to avoid it breaking down and maybe being out without elevators for weeks while you get parts, we're proactively replacing those things. But that again, will set those 2 elevators up to be in great shape for another 10 to 15 years. So.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Good question, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the elevator upgrade proposal in the amount of $358,883? Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Mary?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next is
Thank you, John. Thank you, Brooke.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Next is on page 77, approval of BMW wear support and subscription. It's on page 77.
This is an IT thing, a technology software. As you can see from Mark's memo, critical piece of how we run our virtual cloud and cloud computing environment. It actually results in savings of $25,000. If we didn't have it, that we would have to pay for our catalog hosting. So it actually kind of pays for itself. This is a 3-year renewal that we're asking for, because it would save us some money in the long run. I recommend board approval of the 3-year VMware software and subscription renewal at a total cost of $18,015.
Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the payout of $18,015 for the VMware software and subscription?
So motion.
Second. Okay, Mary?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is approval of the new June 2022 board meeting date.
Yes, and I just want to mention, since the memo, Laura and I actually have changed our plans and decided not to attend this event. But it actually turned out better to have the meeting scheduled on June 14th if the board would be okay with it, because Andrew indicated that he would make it for a visit that day.
Okay.
So I think it will be advantageous to change it. So I recommend board approval of rescheduling the regular June 2022 board meeting to Tuesday, June 14th.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, do we have a motion to change the meeting date to June 14th?
So moved.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay, approval of the salary and wage increase for non-union eligible employees. This is for the upcoming year.
The current, technically the current year, but yes,
Well, yeah.
the rest of the current year.
The rest of the current year and into next year.
Yes, exactly.
And what's the effective date again?
Effective the first full pay period of May, which we just started, so May
Okay.
9 through May 22nd. I don't think there's much else I need to add here, other than, that, you know, if the board would like to approve a certain percent increase for salary and wages for non-union eligible staff, it may choose to do so. I just want to remind the board of what was shared to staff and the board prior discussion, that because of our current collective bargaining status with union eligible employees over wages, benefits, hours, and working conditions, we can not unilaterally make a decision to increase wages and salaries for our union eligible staff at this time. So we need to do that through the bargaining process, just to be fair about that. So.
Okay, now, I don't see a percentage in here, am I correct?
Yes, I didn't specify the percentage.
Do you have a recommendation?
I think the retroactive increase was 3%, so another 3% for this current fiscal year. The rest of this current fiscal year would be appropriate at this time.
Okay, open it up for discussion.
What you're saying for the rest of the year, because the pay periods are overlapping over May 1, they'll have the raise for the full year. We just don't need to go retroactive because the pay period.
Technically, because, so it's one half of a pay period, meaning that they wouldn't have it for the first 9 days of May, but then the rest of the fiscal year will be effective. It's just easier to do that in terms of the payroll.
We paid everyone out through, you know, for the first week of May already, so, and you know, if you wouldn't do it just that.
Okay, again, I throw it open for discussion. The proposal is 3%. Tell me what you think. Anyone have any problems? Okay, can I have a motion to increase the pay by 3%? Effective May 9th.
For
For
non-union
non-union.
eligible.
Right. Non-union. Okay, so we have a motion, second? Second, okay. Mary?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
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 Carol?
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, approval of the salary increase for the director.
I did not write a memo for this.
Well, you gotta tell us what it is.
You're not forgetting.
I think we told you, but I don't get it right.
I wasn't told that it would be a $10,000 retro one-time payment for the,
Right,
in consideration.
retro back to last May.
Well, it's just retro period, right? So it's a one-time retro payment, because there was no increase for the past 2 years. So that would just be one-time retro 10,000, and then that would
Back
also.
to May of last year, right?
It really doesn't have to be back to anything, you know, it's just kind of a one-time lump sum payment, $10,000, and then a $10,000 increase to a regular annual salary.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, that's
Okay, a $10,000 for retroactive pay and a $10,000 increase to his annual salary, which made your annual salary 170.
176,000.
Okay, does everyone understand that? That would be a 10%, $10,000 retro, basically a $10,000 payment plus a $10,000 increase in his salary to 176
Yes.
total salary. Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, can I have a motion to approve? Okay, a second. Second. Okay, and we have to do this individually. Mary?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Thank you, appreciate it.
it's done. Now,
I
we
have
have
my
to go,
kickback bucket, I hope.
No comment.
we have to, have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the Illinois statutes.
Can we discuss rails before?
Yeah, we can do rails before, that's fine. Do you have anything to add to that terrific report? Okay, any questions or comments on rails?
Thank you.
Okay, rails is done. We might as well do comments from the trustees. Any comments from the trustees?
I have a quickie,
Sure.
and that is just the latest newsletter focused on reading thrilled me. I got goosebumps. I was so excited. I felt like that entire newsletter was just a wonderful and appropriately timed reminder of why we're here. So thank you to everybody that.
Wait till you see our summer reading program. It's also very reading focused, you're gonna love it.
I will share that with our communication and stuff too. I feel we'll be able to see that. hear that.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any other trustees? Okay, seeing none. Now we will go into the closed session. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, we have a motion to go into closed session. Okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody,
And I just want to clarify that this is for collective bargaining.
collective bargaining, I should say that, it passes 7-0. And so now we're